Hey, it's Jayden here. So, my son said he was helping Grandpa, right? But when he walked into that restaurant, guess who the maitre d' bowed to? Welcome back, owner. Can you believe that? After all I've done for this family, after all the lies and the years of being pushed to the side, my own blood, my own son, hands everything I built to the one person who's always betrayed me, Marcus. I never thought it would come to this, but here we are. How much more am I supposed to take? You won't believe what happens next. It's a quiet evening in Baltimore, Maryland, the kind where the air feels thick with the weight of unspoken thoughts. I sit in my old chair, worn down by years of work, and look out the window. The neighborhood has seen better days, much like myself. I'm Jayden, a black father in my late 52nds, trying to hold on to the pieces of a life that always seemed just out of my grasp. My family, my sacrifices, none of it has ever mattered to them. They don't see me. Hell, they don't even hear me. I'm just the old man now, the one who gets ignored, pushed aside. I've been here all these years building, giving up parts of myself, trying to make sure they had what they needed, even when it meant I had nothing left. My son, Marcus, used to call me a hero when he was younger. Now he barely speaks to me unless it's about money or his own life. My wife, Annette, well, she's always been too busy with her own things to notice. I've become a shadow in my own house. I don't even know when it all started to fall apart. One minute, I was the man who brought food to the table, who made sure they were comfortable. The next, I was the man who nobody looked at, nobody cared about. The only thing I'm good for now is being the one they go to when they need something I can never say no to. But it stings, more than they'll ever know. You don't get to be a father for 30 years, only to be treated like you're invisible. I'm more than what they think I am, and I'll make them see it. They'll see me. They'll see what they've done to me. I've had enough of being overlooked. Marcus sends me a text. I'm helping Grandpa, Dad. I'll be over later. I don't think much of it at first. It's not the first time he's said something like that. Grandpa, my father-in-law, has been around for years. He's always needed help with something, mostly his back or his health. But Marcus, he's been using his helping Grandpa excuse more and more lately. Every time I reach out, it's the same thing. I'm with Grandpa. Yet I can't shake the feeling that there's more to this. I try to push the thought away. Let it be, I tell myself. But something about it feels off, like a knot in my stomach. Something's up, I mutter under my breath. I've learned to trust that gut feeling over the years. But I'll let him think. I don't know. Later that day, I drive past the restaurant. It used to be mine. My pride and joy. I spent years building it, pouring my blood, sweat, and tears into it. It was supposed to be the foundation of my legacy. Now, I'm just another customer, another face, passing through the door. I pull into the parking lot, half expecting it to be another day of silent resignation. But what I see knocks the wind out of me. There's Marcus, standing at the entrance. The maitre d', the same one who used to bow to me, bows to him. Welcome back, owner, he says, his voice dripping with respect. My heart stops. Marcus stands tall, grinning like he's been crowned king of the world. But that's my crown. That's my legacy, my place, and he's just handed it over like it's his to take. My son, the one I raised, is standing in my restaurant as if it belongs to him. I can't breathe. The world spins. It feels like everything I've ever worked for has been snatched from under my feet. My pride kicks in. I don't show it, but inside, I'm livid. I don't speak a word. I just turn around and leave. The anger bubbling inside me is enough to set my chest on fire. I storm out of the restaurant, the cold air biting my face as I step into the night. The weight of the moment presses down on me, but my thoughts are clear now. I've been played. For years, I've watched Marcus slip further and further away from the family. I've been too blind to see it, too proud to acknowledge it. But now I know. This wasn't just a business. This wasn't just a meal or a drink or a father-son moment. This was the culmination of every quiet sacrifice I made, taken without a single word from me. I'll make him regret this. I'll make him see me. See what he's done to me. I woke up that morning feeling heavier than usual. The events of the day before had been gnawing at me, a deep ache that wouldn't leave. I had seen my son, Marcus, being treated as the owner of my restaurant, the restaurant I had worked years to build. But this wasn't just about the business. It was about respect. It was about all those years I sacrificed, all the moments I gave up for the family that now seemed so quick to push me aside. I thought about how I had let them take the lead, how I had silently supported them. All this time, I'd been the man in the background, unseen, unheard. But something in me snapped yesterday. I can't let this go on anymore. I thought back to all the times I'd let Marcus off easy. All the times he'd slipped away with excuses. I'm helping Grandpa. I'm too busy, Dad. At first, I believed him. But this was different. Yesterday, seeing him stand tall in my place, in the restaurant I had bled for, something inside me cracked. I wasn't just mad, I was hurt. I could feel the betrayal, like a sharp blade cutting through everything I had worked for. I'm done being invisible. I stood in the living room staring at the clock. It was time. No more second guessing. No more waiting for the right moment. I was done being the nice guy. It was time to confront Marcus, and I wasn't going to back down this time. I couldn't. The house was quiet as I walked down the hallway to Marcus's room. I could hear the hum of the TV from inside, but there was no sign of him yet. I knocked softly, my knuckles hitting the door in a rhythm that felt strangely foreign but necessary. "Marcus," I called. "We need to talk." He opened the door slowly, his eyes widening slightly when he saw the expression on my face. He stood there for a moment, like he didn't know whether to be worried or annoyed. "What's up, Dad?" he asked, leaning against the door frame. There was no apology, no sign of guilt, just that damn indifference that had become all too familiar. I crossed my arms, my chest tight with a mix of anger and disappointment. "Don't play me, Marcus. I saw you at the restaurant yesterday. You were treated like the owner. What's going on?" The smile on his face faltered for a second, but then he quickly masked it with that same dismissive look. "What are you talking about? I was just there helping out. You know how it is." I could feel my blood pressure rising, my hands clenched into fists at my sides. "You think I don't know? I built that place, Marcus. I worked my ass off to make sure it was something your mother and you could be proud of. And now? Now you walk in, act like you own it, and don't even have the decency to tell me what's really going on." Marcus scoffed and stepped back, holding his hands up in mock surrender. "Dad, calm down. I'm just helping out. You know how it is. Business is business. Just because I'm there doesn't mean I'm doing anything wrong." I took a deep breath, my voice barely a whisper. "You don't get it, do you? All these years, I've been standing in the background, quietly doing what needed to be done, and now you've taken everything from me. You've been making plans behind my back. What's the real story, Marcus? Are you going to tell me what's going on, or do I have to guess?" For a moment, there was silence. Then, Marcus's face shifted. It wasn't the angry face of a son trying to defend himself anymore. It was the face of someone trying to keep a secret. He finally spoke, his words hitting me like a punch to the gut. "I've been working with a partner to take over the restaurant, Dad. We've been planning this for months. It's not just about helping Grandpa anymore." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My own son, the one I had trusted with everything, had been plotting behind my back, using me as a stepping stone. I could feel the blood rushing to my head, my heart racing as I struggled to hold back the flood of emotions threatening to break free. "You've been lying to me all this time, huh? Using me for your own gain?" I asked, my voice shaking. Marcus looked at me for a moment before shrugging. "I'm just doing what's best for me. You know, business is business. Don't take it personally." I stood there, stunned. All those years of sacrifices, of pouring everything I had into my family. And this was what it had come to. This was how my son saw me, just a stepping stone. just a tool to help him get ahead. As I walked away from Marcus, I felt a mix of emotions crashing over me. Part of me wanted to yell, to demand an explanation, to make him feel the pain he had caused. But a bigger part of me just felt hollow. The weight of everything I had done, everything I had given up, hit me like a wave. I had been so focused on providing, on making sure my family had everything they needed, that I never stopped to think about what it was costing me. But now, the truth was clear. Marcus wasn't just after the restaurant. He was after my legacy, my life's work, and he didn't care about the price. I stood outside the restaurant, staring at the building I had once called my own. The building that now felt like a foreign place. I couldn't bring myself to go back inside. Not now. Not with the truth weighing so heavily on me. I whispered to myself, this isn't just about a restaurant anymore. It's about my life, my legacy. It's time to take it back. The weight of yesterday's conversation with Marcus was still heavy on my chest as I sat in my small living room, the clock ticking away like it had all the time in the world. I had spent too many years staying quiet, too many years swallowing my anger for the sake of peace. But that peace was an illusion, just like the respect I had been pretending to receive from my family. No more. It was time to stop being the invisible man in my own life. The truth was something I needed to expose, and Marcus was at the center of it all. The truth was, I couldn't keep pretending anymore. I had spent my life working for my family, bending over backward to make sure they had everything they needed. My restaurant, my pride, my legacy had all been sacrificed, silently, while they built their lives, their successes, on the foundation I had laid. And now, Marcus had decided that it was his turn to claim it all, without a single word of thanks. The betrayal wasn't just about the business. It was about every sacrifice I had made that had gone unnoticed, every hour I had spent trying to be a good father, trying to be there for them. I wasn't going to let this go any further. I sat back in my chair and ran my hands over my face. My mind raced. I thought about the financial documents I had once kept close to me, and how, over time, they had gathered dust. But I knew exactly where to find the records. Every transaction, every investment, every promise I had made to myself and my family. I had to get to the truth. I had to have something solid, something irrefutable. I wasn't about to let Marcus get away with it. I reached for the phone, dialed. The number of the lawyer I had trusted for years, Cliff. Cliff had always been there for me, through thick and thin. He wasn't a flashy guy, just a solid, dependable man who had helped me with everything from contracts to personal issues. I knew he'd have my back in this. Cliff, I said when he picked up, I need your help. I need you to look at some documents for me. There's something going on with Marcus and the restaurant, and I need to know exactly what's going on. We agreed to meet later that afternoon. As I hung up the phone, I felt a surge of relief. At least I was taking control now. No more pretending. No more hoping for things to change on their own. I was done waiting. That afternoon, I met Cliff at a small, quiet cafe downtown. The kind of place that smelled like fresh coffee and cinnamon rolls, where the chatter of other patrons didn't bother you. I slid the envelope across the table toward him. Take a look at this, Cliff, I said, my voice calm but firm. I need to know what's going on. I need to know if I'm right. Cliff took the envelope and opened it slowly. He flipped through the pages, his face unreadable. The silence between us felt thick, but I couldn't bring myself to break it. I needed him to see what I had seen. Finally, he set the papers down, his eyes meeting mine. Jayden, he started, his voice low. This is bad. Marcus has been in talks with another restaurant group. They're planning to buy him out. This isn't just about him taking over the restaurant. It's about selling it off, cashing in. Your legacy is being sold. I couldn't believe it. The papers in front of me, the evidence of Marcus's betrayal, it was all there, laid out in black and white. My own son, the one I had worked so hard for, was plotting to sell the very thing I had built. The anger that had been simmering inside me exploded. "He's going to sell it?" I whispered. "He's been planning to. Sell it behind my back this whole time?" Cliff nodded. "That's what it looks like. He's been working with some other investors to get a deal done, and from the looks of it, it's already in motion." I sat back in my chair, feeling like the floor had been pulled out from under me. "I can't believe it," I said, my voice barely audible. "All this time, he's been telling me he was just helping out. All these years, I've been silently supporting him, thinking he would carry on what I've built, what I've sacrificed. And now I see the truth." Cliff put a hand on my shoulder. "Jayden, you can't let this slide. You've got the evidence now. You need to act." Later that evening, I found myself sitting alone in my car, parked outside the restaurant. The building loomed before me like a ghost, its once welcoming sign now a reminder of all the things I had lost. I had given so much to this place, poured my soul into every brick and mortar, only for it to be taken from me. Slowly, I stepped out of the car, my shoes crunching against the gravel as I walked up to the front door. I paused, my hand resting on the doorknob. I was standing on the threshold of my past, and yet I couldn't bring myself to go inside. It wasn't just a restaurant to me, it was everything I had worked for, everything I had sacrificed. I whispered to myself, "This isn't just about a restaurant anymore. It's about my life, my legacy. It's time to take it back." Just as I was about to turn away, my phone rang. It was Cliff. I answered, my heart racing. "Jayden," he said, his voice urgent. "I've just gotten word from my sources. Marcus has already begun the process of selling the restaurant. He's already got the paperwork moving. This is happening faster than we thought." I stood frozen, the weight of the moment crashing down on me. "He's doing it now?" I muttered. "Right now? It's a race against time, Jayden." Cliff warned, "If you want to stop this, you need to act, and fast." I looked up at the restaurant one last time, my resolve hardening. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. I sat in my worn-out chair, the one I'd been sitting in for years, watching the sun set over Baltimore. The same sun that had seen my rise and fall in this city. It was hard to wrap my mind around what had happened. My brother's betrayal, Marcus's disregard for everything I had worked for. It felt like the weight of the world was pressing down on my chest. But there was something else too, something deep inside me that told me it was time. Time to stop letting the world walk all over me. Time to take control back. I had been silent for so long, watching from the sidelines, hoping things would change, but nothing ever did. It wasn't just the restaurant. It was my entire life. The sacrifices I'd made, the quiet dedication, the years spent building something that was now slipping through my fingers. No more. I was done. It wasn't just about a restaurant anymore. It was about my life, my legacy, and I would be damned if I let Marcus or anyone take that from me. I made the call. "Cliff," I said, keeping my voice steady, though my fists were clenched. "It's time. I want to take action." We agreed to meet the next day. But that night, as I lay in bed, the weight of everything hit me. How could my own brother, the one I thought I could trust, be part of this? It felt like the world I had built for myself was being chipped away, piece by piece. I'd always thought I could count on him, but now the truth was staring me in the face. The decision was clear. I needed to act fast. I couldn't afford to wait around any longer. It was time to show them that I wasn't the man they thought I was. The plan was simple, but it wasn't going to be easy. But what was easy about any of this? The next morning, I walked into the local diner where our family had gathered. Countless times over the years. It was the same place we had sat together during birthdays, anniversaries, and holidays. But today, everything felt different. The air was thick with tension, and I could feel the weight of what was about to happen. I could already see Marcus sitting at the booth, his eyes darting around the room, like he was waiting for something or someone. I didn't even let him speak before I sat down, dropping the envelope full of evidence on the table. His eyes widened for a second, but he quickly masked it with that same arrogant look I had seen too many times before. "You know what this is," I said, my voice calm but firm. "And I'm done pretending like I don't know what's going on." Marcus tried to play it off. like I was just overreacting. "What are you talking about, Dad? I don't know what you think you saw, but don't play stupid with me, Marcus," I interrupted, slamming the envelope on the table. "This is your plan. This is your way of taking everything I've worked for. And you thought I wouldn't notice?" His face shifted slightly, but he tried to hide it behind a smug grin. "You've misunderstood. I've been working with some investors. Stop. I cut him off. I saw the papers. I saw the agreements. You've been planning to sell the restaurant, my restaurant, the one I built with my blood, sweat, and tears." The words hung in the air like a punch to the gut. I could see Marcus trying to deny it, but it was too late. The truth was out. I wasn't letting him get away with this. But then came the moment I never saw coming. My brother, the one I'd trusted more than anyone, the one I thought would have my back through thick and thin, looked at me, his face full of guilt and shame. "It's true, Jayden," he said, his voice low. "I've been working with Marcus. We've been planning this for a while. We thought you'd understand. This was always meant to be. Marcus's." I couldn't believe it. My brother, the one I thought would always have my back, betraying me, too? The room spun for a second, and for the first time, I felt the full weight of the knife they had driven into my back. "So, you've all been in on this," I whispered. "All this time you've been lying to me." "I'm sorry, Jayden," my brother said, his voice shaking. "But we thought it was for the best." "No," I said, my voice rising now. "You didn't think about what was best for me. You thought about what was best for you. And I'm done. I'm done being the fool, being the one who gets walked all over." I stood up, the anger bubbling up in my chest, but I held it back. I had to. I had to think clearly. "You want to take my legacy? You want to sell everything I've worked for?" I took a deep breath. "Well, you better be ready for a fight, because I'm not backing down." I stormed out of the diner, leaving them behind. The weight of the betrayal still hung heavy on my shoulders, but a fire was lit inside me. For the first time in a long time, I felt alive, like I was finally taking control. Later that night, I sat alone in my living room, the silence heavy. But just as I was about to gather my thoughts, the phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. "Hello?" I answered, my voice steady but cautious. "Jayden?" a voice said, familiar but cold. "It's me. I've got something you need to hear." The voice paused before continuing. "This is bigger than you think." The line went quiet for a moment, and then the sound of a recording began. It was Marcus and my brother, discussing the sale of the restaurant, planning the entire thing, and making sure to leave me out of the picture completely. I sat there, the weight of it all crashing down on me. This wasn't just betrayal anymore. This was a conspiracy. I sat at the kitchen table, the early morning light creeping through, the blinds casting long shadows across the room. My fingers ran over the edge of the envelope in front of me, filled with papers, financial records, emails, everything I needed to confront my family. My mind was quiet, but there was a storm brewing underneath. A simmering anger, frustration, years of being silenced, ignored, and betrayed. And now, I had the power to take it all back. The past few days had been a blur of phone calls, meetings, and quiet reflection. I needed to think clearly, to formulate a plan. One wrong move, one misplaced word, and it could all crumble. I couldn't afford to be impulsive, though everything inside me screamed for action. But I had learned the hard way that you can't let emotion guide your hand, especially not now. I had been to the family business office, dug through the records that no one thought I would look at, and there it was. The document that proved Marcus had been working with someone else, my brother. It all clicked together. My brother, the one person I thought would never betray me, was in on it. I wasn't just fighting Marcus. I was fighting my own blood. Taking a deep breath, I stood up. The plan was clear now. It was time to take control, to expose the truth, and show my family that I wouldn't be anyone's fool anymore. I wasn't going to be the invisible man they thought I was. Not anymore. I grabbed the phone and dialed Cliff's number. "We need to move forward. I can't sit back any longer. It's time to make this public." The diner where we'd arranged to meet was a place filled with memories. a place where we used to sit, laugh, argue, where the family had been whole. Now, it felt like a battleground. The air was thick with the weight of what was about to happen. Marcus was already sitting at the booth, sipping his coffee like he owned the world, and my brother was next to him, looking nervous. It was almost too easy to see the cracks forming in the illusion they'd built. I slid into the booth across from them, setting the envelope on the table between us. The silence was deafening, the tension palpable.
"So, what's all this about, Jayden?"
Marcus asked, his voice too smooth, too confident, but I wasn't fooled. "Don't play dumb with me, Marcus," I said, my voice low and steady. "I know about the sale. I know about you and my brother." I opened the envelope slowly, laying out the papers one by one, showing them the proof of their betrayal. Marcus shifted uncomfortably, his eyes darting between me and my brother, but it wasn't enough to stop him from trying to deny it. "You're misunderstanding everything. This is for the good of the business." "You're lying," I said flatly. "You've been working with someone behind my back, and you've been planning to sell everything I built. You've been taking what's mine, and I'm not going to stand by and let you finish what you started." The words hung in the air like smoke. For a moment, I thought he might crack, but he didn't. Instead, my brother did. "Jayden, it's not what you think," he stammered. "I had to do it. Marcus, he has something on me." His voice shook, and I could see the guilt in his eyes. "I didn't want this, but he's been controlling everything. He knows things I can't afford to have out in the open." I felt my heart drop into my stomach. My brother, the one I trusted the most, had been hiding this all along. He wasn't doing this out of greed. He was doing it out of fear. Fear of Marcus, fear of what he might lose if he didn't go along with it. The betrayal cut deeper than I expected. "You're telling me you've been afraid of Marcus this whole time?" I asked, my voice cold. "And you couldn't even tell me? You couldn't trust your own brother?" "I didn't have a choice, Jayden," he whispered, his face full of regret. I didn't have a choice. I sat there, stunned, trying to process it all. Marcus had played us both. He wasn't just a business partner, he was the mastermind behind it all, manipulating everyone around him to get what he wanted. I thought I knew my family, but I was wrong. My brother looked down, unable to meet my eyes. "I'm sorry, Jayden," he said, barely above a whisper. I felt like I'd been hit with a ton of bricks, but I couldn't let myself break down, not now. I had to stay focused. "You've made your choice. You've made it clear where you stand," I said, my voice sharp. "And now, I'm going to make mine." I stood up, grabbing the papers and tucking them into my jacket. "This isn't over, not by a long shot. I'll fight for what's mine, even if it means going against all of you." As I left the diner, the weight of everything settled on me, but I wasn't done yet. Not by a long shot. I had one more step to take. The truth had come out, but there was more. I knew it. I reached for my phone, calling a number I hadn't dialed in years. A journalist who once worked with my father, someone who knew the business inside and out. If there was one person who could help me expose Marcus, it was him. But just as the call went through, I was interrupted by a text message. It was from my lawyer. "Marcus has been bribing officials. It's worse than we thought. Your safety is at risk." I stood still for a moment, the weight of the news sinking in. This wasn't just a fight for the restaurant anymore. It was a fight for my life. I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting my tie, trying to steady my breath. My hands were steady, but my heart, that was another story. This was it, the final showdown. I had been preparing for this moment for so long that it almost felt surreal. The weight of everything, the years of betrayal, the lies, the manipulation, had been building up to this point. But there was no turning back now. I could feel the fire inside me. For years, I had swallowed my pride, watched from the sidelines as my family tore itself apart. But now, I was ready to take back what was mine. The business, my dignity, my legacy. It all had to be reclaimed. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the folder, the evidence I had gathered. Financial records, emails, documents, Everything that proved Marcus's corruption and my brother's betrayal. I couldn't afford to miss anything. This wasn't just about winning anymore. This was about taking control of my life, no matter the cost. I walked to the door, and as my hand touched the handle, a thought hit me. This wasn't just for me anymore. This was for everyone I'd sacrificed for. It was for my father's legacy, for the future that Marcus had tried to steal. I stepped out into the cool air, the weight of the fight ahead heavy on my chest. But I was ready. I was done waiting. The restaurant was a contrast to everything I felt. Marcus had always been drawn to the shiny, the glamorous. This place oozed wealth, everything polished, pristine, and cold. It was where he thrived, surrounded by money and power, where he could pull the strings and manipulate people without them ever knowing. I walked in, taking a deep breath, letting the anger simmer beneath my calm exterior. He didn't see me at first. He was too busy laughing it up with the staff, his arrogance radiating across the room. When he finally looked up, his smile faltered, his eyes narrowed, but he didn't say anything. "Marcus," I said, my voice calm, but the words hit like a sledgehammer. "We need to talk." He looked around, trying to figure out if he could brush this off. "What's this about, Jayden? This isn't the time or place." I didn't waste time. I slapped the folder on the table between us. "It's time to end this, Marcus. Your lies, your manipulation, everything ends today." The shock was visible on his face, but it was brief. He quickly tried to mask it with a smirk. "You think you can take me down with some papers? You've been a part of this too, you know." I leaned in, my voice low but steady. "Don't try to turn this around on me. This is on you. You've been lying, stealing, and using everyone around you. My brother, the business, everything. And you think I'm just going to let you walk away with it?" Marcus's mask cracked for a moment. He stood up, his face flushed. "You don't know the whole story, Jayden," he said, his voice rising. "You've been too busy being the martyr, the victim. You've let people walk all over you. You've let them take everything while you did nothing." I clenched my jaw, my fists tightening at my sides. "Don't you dare try to paint me as the villain. I sacrificed for this family, for this business. I built this from nothing while you were busy doing God knows what. I trusted you, Marcus. And you took that trust and used it to tear everything apart." He threw his hands up in frustration. "You think this is about you? You think you're the only one who's been wronged?" "Everyone has their role to play, Jayden. You should have known your place. You're not the center of everything." The sting of his words hit me, but I didn't let it show. I had heard this before. I had been treated like an afterthought for far too long, and I wasn't going to let it continue. "You've been feeding my family lies, Marcus," I said, my voice steady and cold. "But now, I'm going to expose you for who you really are," he scoffed, trying to regain control. "You think you're in control here, Jayden? You think you're the one calling the shots?" "I am now," I replied. My eyes locked on his. "You've been playing with people's lives for too long. It ends today." But just as I thought I had him cornered, Marcus's eyes flickered with something new, a malicious grin. He stepped closer, his voice dropping low. "You think you've got it all figured out? Huh? You think you can expose me and walk away unscathed?" He paused for effect, his smile widening. "I've been playing the long game, Jayden. You're not the only one who's been building something. I've got my own network. I've got people who owe me, people who can destroy your reputation, your business, everything. I've already got them in my pocket." My heart sank as the words hit home. Marcus wasn't just after the restaurant. He had built a system of power, a network of influence, all designed to keep him at the top while everyone else crumbled beneath him. I was looking at the mastermind, the puppeteer, the one pulling the strings, but I wasn't going to let him win. Not now, not ever. I stood tall, refusing to be intimidated. "You may have connections, Marcus, but you underestimated me. I'm not afraid of you anymore." I pulled out my phone, tapping it, and the sound of a recording filled the room, the very recording he had thought he'd gotten away with. His words, his threats, everything he'd done was now in my hands. "You're not in control anymore, Marcus," I said, watching his face turn pale. "You're done." But just as I thought the battle was over, Marcus made one last move. He reached for his phone, his eyes wild. "You think you've won? I'll destroy you, Jayden. I'll release a video that will ruin you. Your name, your reputation, gone." I looked at him, feeling a calm that I hadn't felt in years. "I've already taken care of that too." With that, I hit send, and the truth began to unfold. His game was over. The door swung open, and I walked in. The room was silent, too quiet. I could feel the tension, thick and suffocating. It wasn't just my family sitting there. It was a room full of betrayal. They all turned to look at me as I entered, some with hesitant expressions, others avoiding eye contact altogether. It had been a long time coming, but now I was finally here to finish what I'd started. I'd been fighting for years, watching as my family tore itself apart, all because of greed, lies, and Marcus's manipulation. Every piece of evidence I'd gathered over the months felt like it weighed a ton in my pocket. But I was ready. I had to be. I was doing this not just for me, but for the legacy my father left behind, for the family that had been slowly destroyed. I took a deep breath, walked to the head of the table, and took a seat. It felt like reclaiming what was rightfully mine. My family had always thought I was too passive, too quiet, always the one who would just let things slide. But not today. Today, they would see who I really was. As the last person to speak, I was about to say the words that would change everything. I wasn't backing down. The door opened, and Marcus walked in. He looked surprised to see me already sitting there, the calm, collected figure that he'd never expected. He tried to mask it, but I could see the wariness in his eyes. Well, Jayden," he said, his voice smooth but carrying that arrogance I hated so much. "This is an interesting turn of events. What's all this about?" I didn't respond immediately. I took a moment to look around at my family, my brother, my cousins, even my old business partners. They were all here, waiting for me to speak. "I'm done being silent," I finally said. My voice was firm, unwavering. "I've been quiet for too long, watching as everything I've worked for has been taken away, watching my family torn apart by greed and lies." Marcus smiled, but there was a nervous edge to it. "Come on now. We don't need to get dramatic. Let's all just calm down and talk this through." I pulled out the folder. The documents, the emails, the evidence. I laid it all out on the table for everyone to see. His eyes flickered over the pages, but he didn't respond at first. "Marcus, you've been lying to everyone," I continued. "You've been manipulating us all, taking advantage of everyone who trusted you. My family, your own blood. You've played us like pawns in your game." The silence that followed was deafening. His smug demeanor cracked, just for a moment. But then he leaned back, his posture defensive. "You think you're some kind of hero, Jayden? You think you're the only one who's been hurt? Everyone has their role to play. You were never meant to be the one in charge. You had your chance, and you blew it." I felt my blood boil at his words, but I kept my calm. "You were always the one behind the scenes, pulling the strings. You never cared about the business, about the family. It was always about power, for you." Marcus tried to recover. "You're wrong. I've worked hard. I've built this whole thing." He gestured toward the business, the restaurant, the life he'd created for himself. But I wasn't buying it. I let out a breath, ready to expose everything. "No, Marcus, you didn't build it. I did. I built this business. My father trusted me to take care of it, and I did. But you took it, manipulated everything, and now you're trying to sell it. For what? For power? For money?" He scoffed, trying to regain control. "You think you can just throw accusations at me and think it'll stick? You've always been weak, Jayden. You were never cut out for this." His words were sharp, cutting deep, but I held my ground. "You're not going to get away with this. Not this time. I've got everything. The financial records, the secret deals, the proof that you've been working with people behind my back. And I'm going to make sure everyone knows." Marcus's face turned red. His attempt at intimidation didn't work. The family was starting to look at him differently. I could see it in their eyes, doubt, confusion, and even disgust. But just as I thought I had him cornered, Marcus tried one last desperate move. You don't get it, do you? He snapped, his voice rising. This isn't just about money. This is about survival. I've made sure I'm untouchable. And now you, Jayden, you're the one who's going to lose. I was about to speak when he dropped the final bombshell. I have something on you, too. You think you're in control, but you've been living in a dream. I've got people in high places, people who will destroy you if you push me. For a moment, I was stunned. He had allies, people I never expected. But that's when the truth hit me. He wasn't just manipulating the family. He had created a network of power that reached far beyond anything I had anticipated. But I wasn't backing down. I didn't care how much power he had. This was my fight. I looked him dead in the eyes. You don't control me, Marcus. Not anymore. And then, just as I was about to turn the tide, a new face appeared at the door. A man I hadn't seen in years. He walked in with a quiet confidence, but I could feel the tension rise in the room. Jayden, Marcus said, his voice suddenly tight. I think you're going to want to hear what he has to say. The night felt different. It was as though the air around me had shifted, heavier somehow, as if the weight of everything I'd fought for was pressing down on me with every step I took. I stood by the window, staring at the darkened streets outside. It felt like the calm before the storm, the silence just before the world exploded. I thought back on the years, the endless sacrifice, the moments I'd swallowed my pride, thinking that the family I fought for would stand by me. But now, it was all coming to a head. The last pieces were in place, and I was about to take the ultimate risk. There was no turning back now. I remembered the conversations with my father, how he'd always told me to fight for what was right, no matter the odds. How he had warned me about people like Marcus, who would stop at nothing to control everything. I had been silent too long. I had given too much, and now it was my turn to take back control. The anger, the betrayal, the years of watching this family crumble, all of it boiled inside me. It wasn't just about Marcus anymore. It was about my legacy, my father's legacy, and most importantly, my dignity. I gathered the evidence, the final pieces of the puzzle that would expose Marcus once and for all. The recordings, the contracts, the bank statements, everything pointed to him, everything. I knew this meeting could either be my redemption or the moment that tore everything apart. I walked toward the door, the weight of my decision on my shoulders, but as I reached for the handle, my phone rang. I hesitated for a second before answering. Jayden, it's me, a voice said. It was someone I didn't expect to hear from, someone who could change the course of everything. My heart skipped a beat. It was my old business partner, someone I'd trusted deeply. The voice on the other end was calm, but there was an urgency in it that I hadn't heard before. I've got something you need to know about Marcus, he said. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. He told me about an account Marcus had hidden, one that could bring down his entire empire. I had what I needed to destroy him, but now the game had changed. There was a new weapon in my hands, one I hadn't even anticipated. I left my apartment, feeling the weight of the world on my back, and made my way to the family's house. The room where everything had always been decided, the dining table was waiting. I was walking into the lion's den, but this time, I was the one in control. As I entered, the room fell silent. Everyone was there, and the tension was unbearable. The looks on their faces spoke volumes. Uncertainty, fear, even guilt. Marcus was sitting at the head of the table, his usual smugness replaced by a cold, calculated look. He didn't expect me to show up. He didn't think I had the guts to take him on like this. I took a seat, my eyes scanning the room. I could feel the family's judgment, but I couldn't let that sway me. This wasn't just about me anymore. This was about exposing the truth, no matter the cost. Let's get this over with, I said, my voice calm but cutting through the room like a knife. I pulled out the evidence, the contracts, the documents, and laid them on the table. Marcus's face turned pale as he saw what I had. You think you can just throw these at me and walk away, Jayden? He said, trying to remain composed. You've always been weak. You always let things slide. This is no different. I leaned forward, my eyes locking with his. This is different. This time, you won't get away with it. I have everything, Marcus. All of it. The lies, the manipulation, the betrayal. You're done." He stood up, his anger bubbling to the surface. "You think you're the only one who's been hurt? You think I'm the villain in all this? You don't know anything about sacrifice. You never had to make the choices I did." I stood tall, my voice unwavering. "You never had to make those choices because you've always had an agenda. You've always put yourself above this family, above everything else. You don't get to play the victim now." The room was silent, but I could feel the shift. I could see the doubt in the eyes of the family members who still stood by him. The realization was setting in. They were starting to see Marcus for what he truly was. And then it happened. Just as Marcus was about to lash out, one of the family members, someone I trusted deeply, stood up. It was my brother. "I've been helping Marcus," he confessed, his voice shaking. "I didn't want to, but I couldn't stop it. He had something on me. He made me do it." The room erupted in shock. I stared at him, my heart sinking. Betrayed, not just by Marcus, but by my own flesh and blood. But I didn't have time to process it. I had to finish this. I turned to Marcus. "You've had your chance, Marcus. I'm done playing games. I'm going to the authorities. And if you don't confess and step down, everything comes out. All of it." The room was thick with tension. Marcus's arrogance started to crumble. For the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. He opened his mouth to speak, but nothing came out. I stood up. "It's over, Marcus. You lost." But just as I thought I'd won, the unexpected ally from earlier stepped forward. My brother's confession had already rocked the room, but now this revelation, this final twist, was enough to shake the foundation beneath my feet. My brother's ally, someone I least expected, stepped forward with something that could destroy everything I had left, and just like that, everything was in question again. The storm had passed, but the wreckage it left behind was something I had to face every day. The family I'd fought so hard for was broken, scattered, and the battle that had consumed me for so long was over. I found myself standing in the ruins, wondering what was left. Did I feel triumphant, or was I simply exhausted? Every decision, every move I'd made had led me here, and now the consequences were clear. I had stood up for myself, but the emotional toll was heavy. My family, my history was torn apart, and even though justice had prevailed, I was left questioning if it had been worth it. I couldn't escape the weight of it all. The family bonds that had been shattered, the relationships that could never be repaired. The sacrifices had cost me more than I was willing to admit. I had fought for my dignity, for my right to be heard, but I had lost something too: trust, love, the sense of belonging I once had. The price of standing up for what's right was steep, and I was left wondering if I had made the right choice. As I sat there, reflecting on everything that had happened, I thought I was done with it. But then, the unexpected call came. I hesitated before picking up, unsure of what to expect. "Jayden, it's me," the voice on the other end said. It was someone I never thought I'd hear from again, someone who had been a part of my past but whom I'd lost along the way. They had a message, one that would change everything. The voice was familiar, yet there was a sense of urgency in it that caught me off guard. "I've been watching, Jayden," they said, "and I think you deserve to know the truth. I'm here for you, no matter what happens next." For the first time in weeks, I felt a glimmer of hope, a reminder that not everyone had turned their back on me. It was a moment of support I didn't expect, but it was just the thing I needed to face the next step. I knew I couldn't stay in the past forever. Despite the pain, despite the losses, I had to move forward. I had children to think about, and a life to rebuild. The people who mattered were still there, and it was for them I had to keep going. I started reaching out to old friends, to those who had never wavered in their loyalty, to the few remaining family members who still cared. Slowly but surely, I began to rebuild. I began finding peace in the little things: volunteering at a local center, mentoring young people who needed guidance, and simply letting go of the bitterness that had consumed me for so long. It wasn't easy, but I could feel a shift. The anger and resentment were still there, lingering beneath the surface, but I was determined to not let them control me. I had to move on. The healing was gradual. It wasn't an overnight fix. I knew that. But each day felt like a step in the right direction. There were moments of doubt, of fear about whether I was making the right choices, but I learned to take them one day at a time. The world was still uncertain, and the wounds from the past would never completely heal, but for the first time, for a long while, I felt a sense of peace. Just when I thought I was finding my balance, just when I started to believe I could move on, something unexpected happened. One evening, as I sat at home reflecting on the progress I'd made, I got another call. This time, it wasn't from someone offering support. It was a reminder of everything I had yet to deal with. Marcus. The weight of the call settled heavy in my chest. I thought I was done with him, that he was out of my life for good. But he wasn't. There was something in the air, a sense of danger that told me Marcus wasn't finished with me just yet. He was still plotting, still scheming from the shadows. I could feel the tension building again. As much as I wanted to move on, as much as I craved peace, I knew it wouldn't be that simple. Marcus had a way of turning everything upside down, and I couldn't let my guard down now. I couldn't shake the feeling that another battle was coming, one that would force me to confront everything all over again. I couldn't go back to the man I once was, the man who tried to hold on to the past, who fought to protect a family that had already slipped away. The man I had been was gone, replaced by someone new, someone stronger, someone wiser, someone who had learned the hard way that the world wasn't fair. I stood at the crossroads of my life, ready to make a decision that would define the rest of my journey. The old life, the one I thought I could save, was gone. It was time to let go of the past and step into the future. No more hiding, no more living in the shadows of those who tried to tear me down. I made a decision. I made it clear to my family and the world. I wasn't going to be anyone's doormat. I was going to take control of my life. It wasn't about revenge or seeking justice anymore. It was about reclaiming my dignity, my place in the world. I wasn't asking for their approval anymore. I was demanding respect. I delivered a statement publicly. It wasn't just a declaration. It was the declaration of my future, my power, my right to exist on my terms. And for the first time in a long time, I felt the weight of the world lift off my shoulders. But just as I thought I had everything figured out, a new twist appeared. A figure from my past, someone I had thought was long gone, reappeared. With them, they brought a revelation, something I hadn't expected, but something that would change everything. As the new challenge loomed on the horizon, I knew this was far from over. My resolution was still in the making, and what came next would test me in ways I couldn't yet predict.